On a busy Monday morning at Memorial Grace Hospital, where the atmosphere is a mix of urgency and routine, nurses rush between patient rooms, doctors exchange hurried instructions, and the waiting room hums with quiet tension. Karen, the hospital manager, strides purposefully through the halls. Her sharp suit and clipboard are as much a part of her identity as her short temper. She's earned a reputation for keeping things in order, though some see her more as a tyrant than a leader. Jenny Thompson, a veteran nurse of 15 years, watches nervously as Karen approaches the nurse's station, knowing that even the smallest detail out of place could trigger one of Karen's infamous outbursts. But before Karen can begin her usual morning inspection, something unusual catches her eye. Through the hospital's front doors walks a man in casual attire, wearing what Karen immediately identifies as a MAGA hat. But before we dive into the story, don't forget to subscribe. And let us know where you're watching from in the comments section. Your support will help us bring you more meaningful stories from Karen's perspective. Karen's day takes an unexpected turn when she notices a man entering through the hospital's front doors. This man is none other than Elon Musk, but in his unassuming attire, he goes unnoticed by most. Karen, however, spots him immediately and is put on high alert. But before we dive into the story, don't forget to subscribe and let us know where you're watching from in the comments section. Your support helps us bring you more meaningful stories like this one. From Karen's perspective, this man looks like trouble. She watches him walk toward the reception desk where Jenny Thompson, a veteran nurse with 15 years of experience, is helping an elderly patient. The man's hat boldly displays the slogan Karen despises. It's not just a hat, it's a symbol of disruption in her carefully ordered world. Without hesitation, Karen marches over, clipboard in hand, her heels clicking sharply on the floor. Jenny Thompson instinctively steps back, recognizing the storm brewing in Karen's expression. Elon greets them with a polite nod, but Karen's expression remains icy. "Excuse me," she says, her tone harsh and authoritative. Behind her, Mike Reynolds and Steve Carter, the hospital's security guards, exchange worried glances, having witnessed many of Karen's confrontations before. Elon, always calm and polite, replies, "I'm here for a reason, but I don't want to make a scene. I just need to take a quick look around." Karen's eyebrows shoot up. "Look around? This is a hospital, not a tourist attraction," she snaps. "We don't allow political speech here, and frankly, your hat is making people uncomfortable." Jenny Thompson tries to intervene. "Ma'am, maybe we should." But Karen silences her with a sharp glare. "I'm not here to make a political statement," Elon explains patiently. "I promise I won't get in anyone's way." Karen's having none of it. Her voice rises just enough to turn heads in the waiting area. "I don't know who you think you are, but you need to leave now." She turns to the security guards. "Mike, Steve, please escort this gentleman out." Mike Reynolds steps forward hesitantly, clearly uncomfortable with the situation. "Ma'am, are you sure?" "Now," Karen insists, her voice leaving no room for discussion. Elon's calm demeanor begins to unsettle her. He doesn't argue or raise his voice. Instead, he gives her a measured look and replies, "I'm not here to cause trouble, but if you feel that strongly, I'll leave. Just remember, appearances can be deceiving." Karen scoffs, crossing her arms. "I'll take my chances," she replies. "Security will show you the way out." As Mike and Steve reluctantly escort Elon towards the exit, Jenny Thompson whispers to her colleague, Dr. Rachel Bennett, who has been watching the scene unfold. Something about him seems familiar. Elon gives Karen a faint smile and leaves without another word. As he disappears through the doors, he glances back at the hospital, his expression pensive, while Karen returns to her rounds, feeling smug about how she handled the situation. Little does she know, her world is about to change dramatically. The camera lingers on the hospital entrance as Elon disappears into the distance, setting the stage for what promises to be a shocking and heartbreaking turn of events. Conflict points and resolution, but with our new cast of characters bringing fresh perspectives to each scene. Each interaction maintains the original tension while building toward the same powerful conclusion about leadership, growth, and second chances. Have you ever experienced a moment that completely changed your perspective on leadership? Remember to share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories about transformation and growth in unexpected places. The next day at Memorial Grace Hospital begins like any other, with Karen already patrolling the halls at 8 a.m. sharp. Her clipboard, filled with the day's tasks, has already been meticulously reorganized to fit her exacting standards. As she marches past the pediatric ward, where Emily Foster is gently calming a crying child, Karen barely notices the warmth of the scene, too focused on maintaining her iron grip on the hospital's order. Sarah Mitchell, the front desk receptionist known for her unwavering patience even in the face of Karen's demands, notices something different in the air this morning. The staff seems to be whispering more than usual, exchanging meaningful glances whenever Karen passes by. Dr. Rachel Bennett and Jenny Thompson are huddled near the nurse's station, their conversation dropping to hushed tones as Karen approaches. The patient charts need to be properly color-coded, Karen barks at Jenny, finding fault with the perfectly organized files. And Dr. Bennett, shouldn't you be with your patients instead of gossiping? Before either can respond, a commotion at the entrance catches everyone's attention. A sleek black SUV has pulled up, and through the glass doors, they can see a familiar figure emerging. Karen's face tightens as she recognizes the man from yesterday, though today he's wearing a blazer along with that same MAGA hat. Miss Mitchell, Karen snaps into her phone. Why is that man back in my hospital? Sarah's voice trembles slightly as she responds. He said he has business here, Karen. He seems quite determined. Business? What kind of business could he possibly have here? Karen mutters, already striding toward the entrance, her heels clicking aggressively against the polished floor. Dr. Bennett whispers to Jenny, should we tell her? About who he really? Not our place, Jenny responds quietly, though concern creases her forehead. But this won't end well. As Elon enters the hospital, several staff members and patients notice him immediately. Unlike yesterday, there's a ripple of recognition among some of them. Lisa Chun, the head nurse, nearly drops her tablet when she sees him, quickly ducking into the medication room to avoid being drawn into the inevitable confrontation. Karen intercepts Elon before he can reach the main corridor. You again, she says, her voice sharp enough to make a nearby volunteer wince. I thought I made it perfectly clear yesterday that you're not welcome here. Elon remains unruffled, adjusting his blazer slightly. Good morning, Karen. I understand your concern, but I assure you, I have every right to be here. Every right? Karen scoffs, her voice rising. This is a professional medical facility, not a playground for whatever statement you're trying to make with that hat. By now, a small crowd has gathered at a safe distance. Patricia Morgan, the head of administration, watches from her office doorway, her expression a mix of horror and fascination. She makes a move to intervene but stops when Dr. Michael Harrison, the chief of surgery, subtly shakes his head. Security. Karen calls out, and Mike Reynolds appears, looking even more uncomfortable than yesterday. Mike, please escort this gentleman out. Again. Mike shifts his weight nervously. Ma'am, I really think we should. Now, Mike. Karen's voice echoes through the lobby. Elon raises his hand slightly. There's no need for that. I'll leave voluntarily. He turns to go but pauses. However, Karen, you might want to check your email before you make any more decisions about who belongs in this hospital. The cryptic comment catches Karen off guard, but she recovers quickly. Is that supposed to be some kind of threat? Not at all, Elon replies calmly. Just a suggestion. Change is coming to Memorial Grace, whether you're ready for it or not. As he walks toward the exit, Amanda Sullivan from HR rushes in, clutching her tablet with wide eyes. Karen, there's something you need to see immediately. But Karen waves her off, too focused on her perceived victory to notice the urgency in Amanda's voice. She watches with satisfaction as Elon's SUV pulls away from the curb, completely unaware that her entire world is about to be turned upside down. Throughout the rest of the morning, the whispers grow louder. Sarah Mitchell overhears fragments of conversations. Did you see? Can't believe she doesn't know. The new owner. But no one dares to approach Karen directly. Dr. Bennett tries one last time, catching Karen near the staff lounge. Karen, about that man. I don't want to hear it, Rachel. Karen cuts her off. I have a hospital to run, and I won't let some attention seeker disrupt our work. As the day progresses, an emergency board meeting is called. Karen notices the unusual activity, but attributes it to her successful defense of hospital protocol. She straightens her jacket, adjusts her clipboard, and continues her rounds, maintaining her rigid control over her domain for what she doesn't realize will be the last time. The stage is set for tomorrow's revelation, and the staff of Memorial Grace holds its collective breath, knowing that the following day will bring changes that none of them, especially Karen, can prepare for. The next morning dawns with an unusual atmosphere at Memorial Grace Hospital. Karen arrives at 7:30 a.m., earlier than usual, feeling invincible after her perceived victories over the mysterious MAGA hat-wearing intruder. The events of the past 2 days have only reinforced her belief that she alone maintains order in this institution. As she strides through the entrance, Karen immediately notices something's different. The usual morning bustle feels muted, controlled. Sarah Mitchell, typically cheerful at the front desk, barely meets her eyes. Dr. Rachel Bennett and Jenny Thompson stop their conversation abruptly when they see her, exchanging meaningful glances that Karen chooses to ignore. "Sarah," Karen barks, approaching the reception desk. "What's on the schedule for this morning?" Sarah's fingers tremble slightly on her keyboard. "There's, a mandatory staff meeting in the main conference room at 9 a.m. David Winters, the CFO, specifically requested your presence." Karen frowns. No one calls mandatory meetings without her approval. "I wasn't informed about this." "The email went out last night," Sarah replies softly, then quickly adds, "from the board." Making her way to her office, Karen notices more unusual behavior. Lisa Chun, the head nurse, is huddled with Patricia Morgan from administration, both of them speaking in hushed tones. They fall silent as Karen passes. Even Mike Reynolds, the security guard who usually greets her warmly, seems to be avoiding eye contact. In her office, Karen boots up her computer, determined to get to the bottom of this strange behavior. Her inbox is flooded with emails, but one subject line catches her eye. "Urgent, change in hospital leadership mandatory meeting." Before she can open it, her phone rings. "Karen speaking," she answers curtly. "Karen, it's David Winters." The CFO's voice sounds strained. "Could you please come to my office? There's something we need to discuss before the meeting." "I'm quite busy, David. Can't this wait until—" "No," he interrupts, something he's never done before. "It really can't." The walk to David's office feels longer than usual. Karen passes Dr. Michael Harrison in the hallway, who gives her a look that almost seems like pity. Amanda Sullivan from HR is waiting outside David's office, clutching a thick folder and looking nervous. Inside, David Winters isn't alone. Patricia Morgan and Dr. Harrison are there too, along with several board members Karen recognizes. But what makes her blood run cold is the sight of the man in the MAGA hat, now wearing an impeccable suit, sitting calmly at the head of the conference table. "What is he doing here?" Karen demands, her voice sharp enough to make Amanda flinch. David clears his throat. "Karen, please sit down. There's something we need to discuss before the general meeting." "I will not sit down while this intruder is in our hospital again." Karen's voice rises. "I've already had security remove him twice." "That's exactly what we need to discuss," Patricia interjects gently. "Karen, this is Elon Musk. He's not an intruder. As of last week, he's the majority shareholder of Memorial Grace Hospital." The room spins slightly. Karen grabs the back of a chair for support. That's impossible. This is a joke, right?" "I'm afraid not." Elon speaks for the first time, his voice calm and measured. "The board approved the acquisition last month. I've been visiting various hospitals in our network, trying to understand the culture and operations from ground level before making any announcements." Karen's mind races back to the past 2 days. The calm responses, the cryptic comments, the staff's whispers. "But the hat, the casual clothes. I find it's the best way to see how things really work," Elon explains. "People behave differently when they think they're dealing with the owner. I prefer to see the authentic day-to-day operations." David Winters steps forward, holding a tablet. "The official announcement was scheduled for next week, but given the recent events, we felt it necessary to accelerate the timeline. Your treatment of Mr. Musk has forced us to move up several planned changes," Patricia adds, her voice gentle but firm. "Karen, your leadership style has been a concern for some time now." Karen's legs finally give out, and she sinks into a chair. The past 2 days replay in her mind. Her harsh words, her aggressive behavior, her refusal to listen. Each memory feels like a nail in her professional coffin. "I didn't know," she whispers. "That's precisely the point," Elon responds, leaning forward. "You didn't know who I was, yet you treated me, and by extension anyone you perceived as beneath you, with contempt. That's not the kind of leadership we want at Memorial Grace." Dr. Harrison speaks up for the first time. "The staff is afraid of you, Karen. Not respectful, afraid. That's not how a hospital should run." "The general meeting in 30 minutes will announce the ownership change," David explains. "But we wanted to give you a chance to process this privately first." Karen's mind is spinning. Her carefully controlled world is crumbling around her. Am I being fired?" Elon shakes his head. "No, Karen. Not yet. I believe in second chances, but they must be earned. You have 2 choices. You can resign now, or you can commit to a complete overhaul of your management style. The choice is yours, but it must be made before the general meeting. The room falls silent as Karen stares at her hands, her clipboard lying forgotten on the table. Outside, she can hear the hospital coming to life. Nurses changing shifts, patients being wheeled to tests, the endless cycle of healing and hope that she's been part of for so long. Has she really become the tyrant they say she is? I need a moment, she manages to say. Take 5 minutes, Elon replies. But remember, change is coming to Memorial Grace with or without you. The question is, are you willing to change with it? As Karen steps out into the hallway, she sees Jenny Thompson helping an elderly patient with infinite patience and care. Sarah Mitchell is calming a worried family member with genuine empathy. Even Mike Reynolds is there, gently guiding a lost visitor with a smile. Has she been so focused on control that she's forgotten what the hospital really stands for? The next 5 minutes would determine not just her future at Memorial Grace, but the kind of person she wants to be. The clock ticks down to the general meeting, where everything will change, including, perhaps, Karen herself. The main conference room at Memorial Grace has never felt so crowded. By 8:55 a.m., the space is packed with staff from every department. Nurses in their scrubs, doctors in white coats, administrative staff clutching tablets, and maintenance workers standing along the walls. The tension in the air is palpable as whispers circulate about the morning's revelations. Jenny Thompson sits next to Dr. Rachel Bennett in the third row, both stealing glances at the empty seat reserved for Karen at the front. Sarah Mitchell nervously arranges and rearranges her notepad, while Lisa Chun tries to maintain order among her nursing staff. The room falls silent as David Winters enters, followed by Patricia Morgan and other board members. When Elon Musk walks in, wearing his now infamous MAGA hat along with an impeccable suit, a collective gasp ripples through the room. Dr. Michael Harrison, standing near the podium, watches the door intently, wondering if Karen will make an appearance. At exactly 9 a.m., Karen enters the room. The staff holds its collective breath, but something is different. Her usual rigid posture seems softer somehow, the clipboard absent from her grip for the first time in recent memory. She takes her seat quietly, eyes forward, as Elon steps up to the podium. "Good morning, everyone," Elon begins, his voice carrying easily through the hushed room. "I imagine most of you have already guessed why we're here, but let me make it official. As of last week, I am the majority shareholder of Memorial Grace Hospital." The announcement, though expected, sends another wave of murmurs through the crowd. Amanda Sullivan from HR notices several nurses exchanging knowing looks, while Mike Reynolds and Steve Carter, the security guards, shift uncomfortably, remembering their role in escorting out their new boss. "But that's not why I called this meeting," Elon continues. "Over the past few days, I've had a unique opportunity to observe this hospital's operations firsthand. What I've seen is a dedicated staff working under challenging conditions." Karen feels dozens of eyes turned toward her, but she maintains her composure, her hands folded tightly in her lap. "Leadership isn't about control or fear," Elon states firmly. "It's about empowerment, support, and creating an environment where everyone can excel at what they do best, caring for our patients." Lisa Chun nods vigorously from her position near the front, thinking of all the times she's had to console crying nurses after Karen's harsh criticisms. "Changes are coming to Memorial Grace," Elon announces. "But before I outline those changes, I want to address something important." He pauses, turning to face Karen. "Miss Karen, would you please join me at the podium?" The room grows so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Karen stands slowly, her usual confident stride replaced by a more measured pace as she makes her way forward. As she passes the front row, Jenny Thompson notices something she's never seen before: uncertainty in Karen's eyes. "Karen has been given a choice," Elon explains to the assembled staff, "and she has made her decision." "Karen." Taking the podium, Karen surveys the room. She sees familiar faces, people she's worked with for years but never truly known. Sarah Mitchell, who handles angry patients with grace she's never acknowledged. Dr. Bennett, whose innovative treatment proposals she's dismissed without consideration. Jenny Thompson, whose dedication to patient care goes far beyond protocol. "I owe all of you an apology," Karen begins, her voice initially quiet but growing stronger. "For years, I've confused control with leadership, fear with respect. I've been so focused on maintaining order that I've forgotten why we're really here: to help people heal, to save lives, to make a difference." In the back of the room, James Rodriguez, the maintenance supervisor who's faced Karen's wrath over the smallest details, wipes away an unexpected tear. Mr. Musk offered me a choice, resign or change. I've chosen to change, but I know that words alone aren't enough. I'm asking for the chance to prove it through actions, to learn from all of you what real leadership looks like. Dr. Michael Harrison exchanges glances with Patricia Morgan, both surprised by the sincerity in Karen's voice. Emily Foster, the pediatric nurse who's often had to shield her young patients from Karen's harsh presence, finds herself hopeful for the first time in years. Starting today, Karen continues, my office door will always be open. I want to hear your ideas, your concerns, your suggestions for improvement. I want to learn from your experience and expertise. I know I haven't earned your trust yet, but I'm committed to doing whatever it takes to rebuild these relationships. Elon steps forward, placing a supportive hand on Karen's shoulder. Change isn't easy, he addresses the room. It requires courage, both to admit mistakes and to forgive them. Karen has taken the first step, but this transformation will require everyone's participation. He turns to the assembled staff. Over the next few weeks, we'll be implementing several changes. First, we're establishing a staff advisory council, where representatives from each department will have a direct voice in hospital operations. Dr. Rachel Bennett will chair this council. Dr. Bennett straightens in her seat, surprised but pleased. She's been advocating for something like this for years. Second, Elon continues, Lisa Chun will lead a new patient experience initiative, focusing on making our care more compassionate and effective. And James Rodriguez will head up a facility improvement task force, because maintaining this hospital isn't just about fixing things. It's about making it better for everyone. As Elon outlines more changes, Karen stands quietly beside him, watching the faces of her staff transform from skepticism to cautious hope. She notices Sarah Mitchell wiping away tears, Jenny Thompson nodding encouragingly, and even Mike Reynolds managing a small smile. Finally, Elon concludes, we're instituting a new leadership training program, which Karen will be the first to complete. But she won't be going through it alone. I'll be personally mentoring her through this transition. The announcement sends another ripple of surprise through the room. Karen herself turns to Elon, clearly not having expected this level of support. Because that's what real leadership is about, Elon explains. Not just demanding excellence, but nurturing it. Not just giving orders, but providing support. Not just maintaining control, but fostering growth. As the meeting concludes, the room buzzes with excitement and apprehension. Change is coming to Memorial Grace, and everyone can feel it. Karen remains at the front of the room as staff members file out, some offering tentative smiles, others still keeping their distance. Emily Foster is the first to approach Karen directly. Would you like to join me on my rounds in the pediatric ward? She asks hesitantly. The children there could really benefit from knowing the person in charge cares about them. Karen feels tears threatening to form, but maintains her composure. I'd like that very much, Emily. Thank you. As they walk toward the pediatric ward together, Karen catches her reflection in a window. The rigid hospital administrator is still there, but something has changed. In her eyes, there's a glimmer of something new. Hope, humility, and the first steps toward redemption. Behind them, Elon watches with satisfaction. Sometimes the biggest changes start with the smallest steps, and Memorial Grace Hospital is about to embark on its greatest transformation yet. The weeks following the memorable staff meeting bring profound changes to Memorial Grace Hospital. Karen's transformation becomes the talk of every department, though not in the way it once was. Gone are the fearful whispers and nervous glances. In their place, a cautious optimism takes root. On a busy Tuesday morning, Karen stands in the pediatric ward, watching Emily Foster interact with a young patient named Tommy Wilson, a 7-year-old fighting leukemia. In the past, Karen would have been focused on efficiency metrics and protocol adherence. Now she observes the gentle way Emily comforts Tommy during his treatment, learning what true care looks like. Miss Karen, Tommy calls out, surprising both women. Emily says you're learning to be nicer. Is that true? Karen moves closer to his bedside, her throat tight with emotion. Yes, Tommy, that's true. I'm learning something new every day. Like how brave you are during your treatments. Emily watches the interaction with amazement, remembering how just weeks ago, Karen would have considered such conversations a waste of time. Now she sees her former tyrant sitting down beside Tommy's bed, listening intently as he shows her his favorite superhero action figure. In another part of the hospital, Dr. Rachel Bennett leads the first meeting of the Staff Advisory Council. The conference room, once a place of tension and fear, now buzzes with energy as representatives from every department share their ideas. Lisa Chen presents her plans for the Patient Experience Initiative, while James Rodriguez outlines much-needed facility improvements. The maintenance team has identified several areas where we can improve patient comfort, James explains, no longer afraid to make his voice heard. Simple things like better lighting in the waiting areas and more comfortable seating for families. Karen sits quietly in the corner, taking notes, not to find fault, but to learn. Dr. Bennett notices the change in her demeanor and calls on her. Karen, what are your thoughts on these proposals? The room holds its breath, old habits dying hard. But Karen's response surprises everyone. I think James's team has identified critical needs we've overlooked for too long. I'd like to work with him to prioritize these improvements and find the budget to make them happen. Sarah Mitchell, representing the administrative staff, nearly drops her tablet in shock. The Karen they knew would have dismissed such suggestions as unnecessary expenses. Later that afternoon, Karen has her weekly mentoring session with Elon in her office, which now features an open-door policy that she strictly maintains. The room itself has changed. Gone are the intimidating dark curtains and rigid furniture arrangement. Instead, comfortable chairs and better lighting create a more welcoming atmosphere. Tell me about your challenges this week, Elon begins, noticing the new family photos Karen has added to her desk, pictures of staff celebrations and patient success stories. It's harder than I expected, Karen admits, her honesty a marked change from her former defensive posture. Yesterday, I caught myself about to reprimand a nurse for being 5 minutes late to her shift. But then I learned her delay was because she had stopped to help an elderly patient who had fallen in the parking lot. Elon nods encouragingly. And how did you handle it? I thanked her, Karen says, still sounding surprised at herself. And we discussed setting up a volunteer program to help patients safely navigate the parking area. Their conversation is interrupted by a knock at the open door. Jenny Thompson stands there, looking nervous but determined. I'm sorry to interrupt, but we have a situation in the emergency room. We're over capacity, and Dr. Harrison needs administrative approval to open the overflow area. The old Karen would have demanded paperwork and justifications. The new Karen stands immediately. Let's go see what they need, she says, following Jenny to the ER. The emergency room is chaos, but organized chaos. Dr. Michael Harrison efficiently directs traffic while nurses and residents move quickly between patients. Karen observes the scene, noting how the staff works together seamlessly despite the pressure. Dr. Harrison, she approaches him calmly. What do you need from me? He explains the situation rapidly, expecting resistance. Instead, Karen turns to Amanda Sullivan from HR, who has appeared at her side. Amanda, can you coordinate with departments to pull any available certified staff to help? I'll call facilities to set up the overflow area. Within 30 minutes, the overflow area is operational, staffed by a combination of ER personnel and qualified volunteers from other departments. Karen works alongside everyone else, helping to move equipment and comfort worried family members. Mike Reynolds, watching from his security post, shakes his head in amazement. I never thought I'd see the day, he mutters to Steve Carter. Karen actually rolling up her sleeves and getting her hands dirty. As the crisis subsides, Dr. Harrison approaches Karen. Thank you, he says simply. Your support made all the difference today. Karen looks around at the staff working together, at the patients receiving care, at the family members being comforted. No, she responds. Thank you for showing me what real leadership looks like in a crisis. That evening, as Karen prepares to leave for the day, she passes the hospital's mission statement mounted on the wall, words she'd read 1,000 times before but never truly understood. Healing with compassion, leading with heart. She pauses to really read it this time, remembering Tommy's brave smile, Jenny's patient dedication, Dr. Harrison's crisis management, and James's thoughtful improvements. Each of them, in their own way, had been living this mission while she had been focused only on rules and control. Patricia Morgan finds her there, still reading the mission statement. Quite different when you really see it, isn't it? She asks gently. Karen nods, turning to her colleague with tears in her eyes. I've worked here for 15 years, Patricia, but I feel like I'm just now seeing the hospital for the first time. Patricia smiles warmly. That's because you're finally looking with your heart, not just your clipboard. As they walk together toward the parking lot, they pass Lisa Chun training a new nurse. The young nurse looks nervous, but Lisa's patient guidance reminds Karen of how Elon has been mentoring her. The cycle of learning, growth, and compassion continues. Just then, her phone buzzes with a text from Elon. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. Your first presentation to the board about the changes you've observed and implemented. Ready. Karen looks back at the hospital, its windows glowing warmly in the evening light. For the first time in her career, she feels truly ready. Not because she has all the answers, but because she finally understands the questions that really matter. 3 months after that fateful morning when Elon first walked into Memorial Grace Hospital, the institution is preparing for its annual Staff Appreciation Gala. The event, once a formal and tense affair under Karen's old leadership, has been transformed into something entirely different. The hospital's main atrium has been beautifully decorated under the direction of Nicole Parker, the events coordinator, who previously would never have dared to suggest such an elaborate celebration. Strings of warm lights create a gentle glow, and round tables dotted with centerpieces replace the usual rigid rows of chairs. A small stage has been set up, and the smell of catered food from local restaurants fills the air. Karen stands in her office, adjusting her outfit, no longer the severe suit she once wore like armor, but an elegant dress that somehow makes her seem more approachable. She's reviewing her speech one last time when there's a knock at her open door. "Come in, Tommy," she calls out, recognizing the distinct pattern of knocks the young patient had taught her. Tommy Wilson wheels himself in, now strong enough to manage his wheelchair independently after months of treatment. His mother, Jessica Martinez, follows with tears in her eyes. "Miss Karen," Tommy beams, holding up a drawing. "I made this for tonight's party. It's you and me and Emily. Remember when we had that superhero party in the pediatric ward?" Karen takes the drawing, remembering the day she'd helped Emily Foster organize a superhero-themed treatment day for the pediatric patients. The old Karen would have considered it frivolous. The new Karen had dressed up as Wonder Woman. "It's perfect, Tommy. Would you like to help me display it at the party?" As the evening begins, staff members and their families start arriving. Dr. Rachel Bennett and her team from the Advisory Council are among the first, followed by Lisa Chun and her nursing staff. James Rodriguez arrives with his maintenance crew, all looking proud in their formal attire. Sarah Mitchell, manning the welcome desk one last time before her promotion to Patient Relations Director, greets everyone with warm smiles. Mike Reynolds and Steve Carter, the security guards, are actually enjoying themselves instead of standing stiffly at attention. Elon arrives without fanfare, wearing a simple suit, no MAGA hat in sight. He moves through the crowd, greeting staff by name, asking about their families, remembering details from conversations months ago. The fear that once permeated the hospital has been replaced by genuine respect and warmth. Dr. Michael Harrison takes the stage first. "When I think about the changes we've seen at Memorial Grace over the past 3 months, it's almost hard to believe. Our patient satisfaction scores have increased by 45%. Staff turnover has dropped to its lowest level in a decade. But numbers don't tell the whole story." He gestures to the crowd. "Look around you. See how Jenny Thompson's new mentor program has helped 5 new nurses transition seamlessly into their roles. Watch how Lisa Chen's Patient Experience Initiative has transformed our approach to care. Notice how James Rodriguez's facility improvements have made this hospital more welcoming and efficient." Patricia Morgan steps up next, her eyes bright with emotion. "But perhaps the most remarkable transformation has been in our leadership. Karen, would you please join us on stage?" Karen makes her way forward, pausing to squeeze Tommy's shoulder as she passes his table. The room erupts in genuine applause. Not the polite, fearful clapping of the past, but real appreciation. 3 months ago, Karen begins, her voice steady but humble, "I thought I knew everything about running a hospital. I thought leadership meant control, respect meant fear, and success meant perfect paperwork." A gentle laugh ripples through the crowd. Then a man in a MAGA hat walked through our doors, and everything I thought I knew was turned upside down. She glances at Elon, who gives her an encouraging nod. But the real teachers weren't just our new owner. They were all of you. Emily Foster showed me that taking time to comfort a scared child isn't wasting time. It's the whole point of what we do. Dr. Bennett taught me that the best ideas often come from the people closest to the problems. Jenny Thompson demonstrated that mentoring isn't about pointing out flaws, but nurturing potential. Karen continues, her voice growing stronger. Sarah Mitchell exemplified how greeting someone with kindness can change their entire hospital experience. James Rodriguez proved that maintaining a hospital isn't just about fixing what's broken. It's about making things better for everyone. Lisa Chin illustrated that patient care isn't just about procedures and protocols. It's about treating people with dignity and compassion. She pauses, looking out at the gathered faces. But my greatest teachers have been our patients. Tommy, she gestures to the young boy, your courage during treatments taught me more about strength than any management book ever could. Amanda Sullivan from HR wipes away tears as Karen continues. We've made so many changes together. The Staff Advisory Council has implemented 26 new initiatives. Our patient experience program has revolutionized how we approach care. The new facility improvements have made Memorial Grace feel more like a place of healing and less like an institution. But the most important change has been in how we see ourselves, not as separate departments with competing priorities, but as one team with a shared mission. Healing with compassion, leading with heart. Elon steps up to join her, carrying something in his hands. Karen, when I first visited Memorial Grace, I saw an institution run on fear and control. Today, I see a hospital that leads the region in patient care, staff satisfaction, and innovative programs. Your transformation has been remarkable, but more importantly, it has inspired similar changes throughout our entire hospital network. He opens a small box, revealing a new nameplate. Karen Mitchell, Executive Director of Leadership Development and Hospital Culture. The room erupts in applause as Karen stares at the nameplate in shock. But my position? She stammers. Will be expanded, Elon explains. You'll be responsible for implementing these changes across all our hospitals, teaching other administrators the lessons you've learned. Your story, your transformation, can help change healthcare leadership throughout the country. Dr. Harrison raises his glass in a toast. To Karen, who learned that the strongest leaders are those who aren't afraid to change. As the celebration continues into the night, Karen finds herself surrounded by the people she once held at arm's length. Tommy shows her his latest superhero drawings. Jenny Thompson shares stories about her new ments. Dr. Bennett discusses plans for expanding the Advisory Council's initiatives. Later, Karen steps away for a moment of quiet reflection. Looking out over the atrium, she sees more than just a successful event. She sees a community. Emily Foster is teaching Tommy's little sister a secret handshake. Mike Reynolds is sharing jokes with the maintenance staff. Sarah Mitchell is introducing new employees to veteran staff members. Elon finds her there, watching it all. Quite different from the hospital I walked into 3 months ago, he observes. Karen nods, smiling. I used to think my job was to manage a hospital. Now I understand. It's about nurturing a family. That's why you're perfect for this new role, Elon responds. Because you didn't just change policies or procedures, you changed hearts, starting with your own. As they rejoin the celebration, Tommy's voice rings out clear and strong. Miss Karen, come quick. Dr. Bennett is going to show us pictures from the superhero party. Karen laughs, a sound that would have been unthinkable in the old days, and hurries to join the group. The clipboard that once ruled Memorial Grace with an iron grip is nowhere in sight, replaced by something far more powerful. The understanding that true leadership isn't about control, but about connection. The night ends with a final surprise, a video montage of the hospital's transformation, featuring interviews with staff, patients, and families. As images of the past 3 months play across the screen, there isn't a dry eye in the house. The final shot shows Karen reading to children in the pediatric ward, her face lit with genuine joy. Remember, her voice narrates over the final scene, it's never too late to change, to grow, to become the person you're meant to be. Sometimes it just takes someone believing in you, even if that someone is wearing an unexpected hat. The crowd laughs and applauds, and as the evening winds down, Karen finds herself surrounded by hugs, well wishes, and genuine affection. She catches her reflection in a window and barely recognizes the woman she sees. Not because she's changed so dramatically on the outside, but because the person looking back at her finally feels real, authentic, and truly alive. Memorial Grace Hospital continues to thrive, a testament to the power of transformation and the strength that comes from leading with compassion. And somewhere, carefully preserved in Karen's new office, sits a simple red hat, a reminder that sometimes the most profound changes come from the most unexpected places.